Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story is one that absolutely shook an entire town and left even the toughest police officers fighting back tears. And trust me, by the time we reach the end, your heart is going to feel every moment. Because what started as a routine day turned into a life-changing rescue and a reminder that sometimes the bravest heroes come in the smallest forms. So let's dive right into it, because this emotional journey begins with a little girl running down a cold sidewalk, her tiny legs barely keeping up with her own fear, the wind cutting against her face. Her hair messy, her cheeks red from crying. She was no more than 7, maybe 8 years old, but the terror in her eyes made her look older. Like she'd seen things no child should ever see. She didn't stop at the traffic lights, she didn't slow down for the cars honking. She kept pushing forward because there was only one thought in her mind: she had to get help no matter what. And that's when she burst through the front doors of the small downtown police station, breathless, shaking, and clutching something in her small hand, a worn-out stuffed rabbit. Its fur practically gone from being held too much. The officers inside turned instantly. One spilled his coffee, another pushed back his chair. They weren't used to kids running in like that, but before anyone could ask her name, she cried out with all the strength she had left, "Please follow me home, please, you have to help my mommy." The room went silent. An officer knelt down, trying to get her to breathe and speak. Slowly, but she kept repeating the same words: "Please, please come, my mommy needs help. Something bad is happening and she can't get up, not anymore." The urgency in her voice wasn't something any cop could ignore. So 2 officers immediately grabbed their jackets, signaled the dispatcher, and gently guided the little girl outside. She grabbed one officer by the hand, gripping with surprising strength, as if letting go even for a second would mean losing her only chance. The officers later said they'd never forget the way she led them down the street, half running, half stumbling, but determined, never once looking back, only forward, as if every second mattered. And maybe it did. They reached a narrow residential street, one of those areas where the houses looked old and tired, like they'd been through too many winters. The little girl pointed at one specific house, a small one, with chipped paint and broken shutters that swung with every gust of wind. "That's it," she whispered, almost too afraid to speak louder. They followed her inside. The moment the door opened, the smell hit them. First damp air, mold, old wood, and something else, something that made their instincts flare. The home was dim, only a little sunlight sneaking in through the curtains that hung crooked. One of the officers called out, but there was no answer until the little girl tugged their jackets again, urging them down the hallway. She stopped in front of a closed bedroom door, trying to steady her breathing before turning the knob, and when she pushed it open, what they saw froze them. One officer later said that in all his years on the force, he had never felt his heart break so fast. Her mother lay on the floor, barely conscious, pale, weak, struggling to breathe, her hands trembling as she tried to reach toward her daughter, who dropped to her knees beside her. She was alive, but just barely. The officers rushed forward, checking her pulse, calling in an emergency medical team, and clearing space around her. But even as they worked, they could see more than the physical weakness, more than the exhaustion. Something was deeply wrong. The room was cold, the windows cracked, the blankets thin. The entire home looked neglected, worn down, like it had been abandoned. Except it wasn't abandoned at all. A child had been living here, taking care of her mother, alone. The paramedics arrived within minutes and began stabilizing the woman, while the officers gently pulled the little girl to the side, trying to piece together what had happened. And that's when the truth slowly came out in broken sentences between tears. Her mother had been sick for weeks, unable to walk much, unable to stand long enough to cook, unable to go out to get help. The girl had tried her best, bringing her water, sharing the last food. They had tried to keep her warm at night with her own blankets, but she was just a child. She didn't understand her mother's illness. She didn't understand the danger. All she knew was that her mother needed help, and she wasn't getting better. So that morning, she made a decision. She put on her shoes, hugged her stuffed rabbit to her chest, and ran out into the street, determined to find anyone who would listen. She didn't know how far the police station was. She didn't even know if she'd be allowed inside, but she ran anyway, hoping, praying that someone would follow her home. And now, as she watched the paramedics placing her mother on a stretcher, her eyes filled with fear again. She whispered, "Is she going to die? Please don't let her die." The officers reassured her, gently telling her that she did the right thing, that she saved her mother's life. And those words hit her like a wave, because for the first time since she burst into the station, she finally let herself cry. But the story didn't end there, not even close. At the hospital, doctors treated her mother quickly and thoroughly, diagnosing severe pneumonia, combined with malnutrition and untreated complications, things that had been building up for far too long. And while her mother fought to recover, the officers made sure the little girl was safe, fed, warm, and comforted. They brought her clothes, a proper meal, a warm blanket, even a new stuffed rabbit to replace her old one, though she still kept the worn-out one close by, saying it reminded her of her mother. The police department opened an investigation to find out why no one had helped them earlier, and what they discovered painted a heartbreaking picture. The mother had lost her job months earlier, her health worsened, and with no family nearby and no money coming, and everything spiraled out of control. She was too ashamed to ask neighbors for help too afraid of being judged, too weak to go anywhere, and the little girl kept trying to make everything seem okay. She went to school less and less, missing days to stay home and take care of her mom. Her teachers assumed she was sick or dealing with normal family issues. No one knew how serious things were. No one realized a child was single-handedly fighting to keep her mother alive, but things took a beautiful turn. The officers involved refused to let the story fade away. They visited the hospital daily, checking on both mother and daughter, bringing toys, snacks, and little things that made the girl smile. Word began to spread through the community, and soon, people from all over town stepped forward, wanting to help. One woman donated warm clothes, another offered gift cards, a local grocery store sent food. A carpenter volunteered to repair the broken windows, and the front door strangers came together in a way that nobody expected, turning tragedy into hope. Slowly, the mother regained her strength, her breathing improved, her color returned, and days later, she finally opened her eyes, fully aware and alert. She saw her daughter sleeping in a chair beside her, holding her hand tightly. The first thing she asked the nurses was how her little girl was doing. When she learned what her daughter had done, running all the way to the police station alone, she burst into tears, telling her daughter, "You saved my life, baby, you saved me." But the moment that brought everyone to tears came when the officers visited the hospital again. The little girl ran to them before they could even enter the room, hugging each of them tightly, whispering, "Thank you. Thank you for helping my mommy." One officer said he had never felt anything like it, that kind of gratitude, pure and overwhelming, coming from someone so small. The department members pooled their own money together and arranged temporary financial support for the family just until the mother recovered fully. They even contacted local charities to ensure the girl had everything she needed for school clothes, supplies, and a chance to feel like a normal child again. But the community didn't stop there. People volunteered to help clean and restore their home, making it safe, warm, and livable again. Neighbors who barely knew the family before now brought meals, checked in daily, and promised to watch over them because no one wanted the little girl to ever feel alone again. Finally, after weeks in the hospital, the day came for the mother to return home. She was stronger, healthier, and filled with gratitude. The officers helped escort her, and when she stepped through the door, she couldn't believe her eyes. The once broken, neglected home had been transformed, the walls repainted, the floors cleaned, the windows fixed, warm blankets, thick curtains, a stocked refrigerator, little decorations placed lovingly around the room from people who cared. The mother broke down crying, overwhelmed by what strangers had done for her and her daughter. She hugged the officers tightly, thanking them again and again. But the emotional moment that truly left everyone silent came when the little girl tugged at her mother's hand, pointed around the room, and whispered softly, "See, Mommy, I told you someone would help us." The officers later said that simple sentence hit them harder than anything else, because despite everything, the little girl had stayed hopeful. She had believed someone would listen, someone would care, and her belief had saved her mother's life. Months later, the police department invited the little girl to a small ceremony. Nothing official, nothing fancy, but something meaningful. They presented her with a certificate, unofficially calling her the bravest child in the city, and they meant it. She had done what even adults might struggle to do. She had faced fear, hunger, cold, and danger, but she didn't give up. She didn't sit and wait. She found help. She saved a life, her mother's life, and the entire room stood up to applaud her. Tears in their eyes, smiles on their faces, but even that wasn't the end. Her story soon spread beyond the town. People online donated to help support the family, ensuring they had food, education, and medical care through generous contributions. The mother eventually found work again, part-time at first, then full-time when she regained full strength, and life slowly became stable, safe, warm, and hopeful. One evening, months after everything had happened, an officer visited their home to check in, not officially, just to say hi. He found the little girl sitting on the porch with her stuffed rabbit, the new one beside her. She looked healthier, happier, brighter. She ran up to him excitedly and said, "Guess what, Mommy's better now, and I'm going back to school tomorrow." The officer smiled, knowing she deserved all the happiness in the world. Before he left, she handed him a small drawing she had made. It was of her holding hands with two police officers, with a house in the background and a bright sun above. She had written 3 words at the top: "Thank you, heroes." That drawing still hangs framed inside the police department today. A reminder of the day a little girl showed incredible courage, the day she ran into a station begging for help, the day officers dropped everything to follow her home, and the day a community came together to remind us all that hope is never lost. Now, as we wrap up this emotional story, remember this: sometimes heroes don't wear badges or capes or uniforms. Sometimes they wear small shoes, carry worn-out stuffed animals, and run with everything they've got because love makes them brave. And if you're still here watching, thank you for sticking through this powerful journey. If this story touched your heart even a little, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe for more unbelievable, emotional, true life stories just like this one. Until next time, take care, stay kind, and never underestimate the power of a child's courage.